In recent days, a growing number of Republican lawmakers have urged former President Donald Trump to take a more direct and active role in efforts to end the ongoing government shutdown, which has entered another week with little sign of progress in negotiations between the White House and Congress. The shutdown, triggered by a deadlock over funding priorities and policy disagreements, has already begun to strain federal operations and disrupt essential services across the country. Lawmakers from both parties have expressed frustration with the stalemate, but among Republicans, there is a developing consensus that Trump's involvement could help shift the dynamics and potentially break the impasse. Several GOP senators and representatives have voiced confidence that Trump, whose influence within the party remains unmatched, could use his political capital and negotiating style to bring both sides closer to a deal. These lawmakers argue that Trump's direct engagement, whether through public statements, private conversations, or direct talks with Democratic leaders, could create the momentum needed to reopen the government. They note that the former president's track record of commanding attention and rallying support from his base could pressure some members of Congress to compromise, especially as the effects of the shutdown grow more severe. According to political analysts, the call for Trump's involvement reflects a broader reality within the Republican Party. Even though he no longer holds public office, Trump continues to serve as the party's most powerful figure, shaping policy debates and political strategy from the sidelines. GOP lawmakers believe that if Trump publicly supports a particular path forward, such as a short-term funding extension, targeted spending cuts, or specific policy concessions, many Republicans in Congress would likely fall in line. That sense of loyalty and coordination, they say, could be critical in breaking the legislative gridlock that has paralyzed Washington. For now, the White House has signaled that it remains open to discussions with congressional leaders, but President Biden has emphasized that any deal must protect key domestic programs and avoid deep spending cuts that could harm working families. Democrats, meanwhile, have accused House Republicans of prolonging the shutdown by refusing to pass bipartisan funding measures already approved in the Senate. Against this backdrop of partisan tension, Trump's potential role as a mediator, or, at the very least, as an influential voice urging compromise, has become a subject of increasing interest and speculation. Supporters of his involvement point to his reputation for deal-making during his presidency, citing moments when he successfully negotiated bipartisan agreements on criminal justice reform and pandemic relief. They argue that Trump's unique relationship with the Republican base could help reassure conservative voters that any eventual deal does not repress. Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville's remarks about former President Donald Trump's potential involvement in ending the ongoing government shutdown have drawn significant attention within Washington's political circles, underscoring the continued influence that Trump wields over the Republican Party and the broader national political landscape. Speaking to reporters earlier this week, Tuberville said that if Trump gets involved, he can move it, adding that the former president can make a decision on what we do, a statement that reflects the senator's confidence in Trump's ability to shape outcomes even though he no longer occupies the Oval Office. Tuberville's comments came as negotiations between congressional leaders and the White House remained at a standstill, with both sides trading blame for the shutdown that has furloughed thousands of federal employees and disrupted numerous government programs. The senator's words highlight a growing sentiment among some Republicans that the party needs a unifying figure to guide it through this period of uncertainty and political division, and for many within the GOP, Trump remains that figure. Tuberville, a first-term senator from Alabama and one of Trump's most vocal allies in Congress, has consistently aligned himself with the former president's agenda, from immigration and border security to economic policy and foreign affairs. His latest remarks reinforce that alignment, portraying Trump as the decisive leader capable of breaking through Washington's partisan gridlock. In interviews following his initial statement, Tuberville elaborated that Trump's negotiating style, direct, transactional, and focused on results, could inject a sense of urgency and direction that he believes is currently lacking in congressional discussions. He argued that the Republican caucus, though united in opposition to certain Democratic spending priorities, has struggled to present a clear alternative that resonates with both the public and lawmakers across the aisle. In Tuberville's view, Trump's entry into the conversation could provide that clarity and galvanize the party around a single approach. Political observers note that Tuberville's remarks also serve a strategic purpose. By invoking Trump's authority, he and like-minded Republicans are signaling to House and Senate colleagues that the former president remains the ideological and political center of gravity within the party. This tactic, they say, may be aimed not only at influencing the ongoing shutdown talks but also at reinforcing Trump's dominance ahead of the next election cycle. Indeed, Tuberville's comments have been interpreted by some analysts as an attempt to remind fellow Republicans that their fortunes remain closely tied to Trump's base of loyal supporters, many of whom expect GOP leaders to follow his example and push for policies aligned with his America First agenda. For Democrats, Tuberville's remarks were met with skepticism and concern, as talks remain stalled, attention has shifted toward how long the shutdown might last and what political costs each party could face. Economists warn that extended closures could slow growth and shake public confidence, while federal workers continue to face mounting uncertainty.